What's up, you guys? It's 2bricks, and for those of you who follow me on Instagram, this will not be a new experience exactly, but for those of the rest of you guys who just follow me here on YouTube, this is your first reintroduction to this ship, which is the Jedi Vector Starfighter here, of course. And I really loved the look of this ship when I first built it, and as I started to look at more information became available and additional images and angles of it became available in the Jedi or in the High Republic comic, I decided that my version simply would not do, and so I immediately set to work making a much improved version of this ship, because it is now one of my favorite Star Wars Starfighter designs, and I think it's absolutely a beautiful piece. So yeah, I had to do it justice. The areas that I think were really lacking before was that the cockpit was super bulky. The actual the actual cockpit or canopy piece was really thick, because I was using a pre-made X-wing cockpit that's four studs wide, one of the standard Lego ones. And so I decided to try something I've never done before, which is a brick-built glass cockpit for my ship, and it worked out really well. So yeah, I've now made instructions for this, so you guys can check out the link in the description if you want to build your own Jedi Vector Starfighter. And having now seen several images of this from different angles in the comic, I am pretty happy to say that this is a really accurate representation of the ship. So before, I was kind of guessing based off of that one piece of concept art, and there wasn't really any depth to it. There weren't really any multiple angles, so you couldn't really get a sense of it. But I think now I have a really close interpretation based on what we've seen of the ship. So yeah, so today I'm just going to give you a quick tour of all of the things that are new on this, all of the features that I've added, things that I've changed. And then yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you guys want to grab one for yourself and build it, it's pretty light on parts. It's not, the most heavy thing. It's even less than my X-Wing, a lot less than my X-Wing. So yeah, I think this is a great one if you're a fan of this new era, which I'm absolutely loving, this new era of Star Wars. So I know a lot of you guys out there are diehard fans like I am, so this is probably one that you'd want to pick up and add to your collection. So hopefully you enjoy the improvements. So yeah, let's dive in and take a look and see what's new. All right, so let's take a look here. What are the changes that I have made, and what makes it better? So number one, I made a stand, which has an easy ability to just sort of rotate. There's no studs down in here. It's just a round tile. It won't be that printed piece in the instructions. It'll just be a standard round tile. And this just sits in here, and it just allows this to float pretty nicely. So you can just easily adjust the angle if it's sitting on a shelf or something and you want to check it out. You can just spin it around like that. So that was something I wanted to do for sure. And then it does still have landing gear, so I'll show you that in a second, but I just wanted the ability to put it on a stand as well, because it's such an elegant piece. And the way that they describe this, it's like, they said that when a bunch of these fighters are together, it's like a flock of birds, and they're very graceful. And so I just wanted to have it, on a stand, so that you could just kind of spin it around and appreciate the angles and everything, and appreciate some of that natural beauty that comes through from the design. So there's that. So let me take it off the stand, and I'll show you guys the other things that are new. So this just attaches on here with a couple of 2x2 jumpers. So as before, the wings are still too low down to be able to land, so I've kept the ability to rotate those up, but I changed the position of where the wings are mounted relative to the rest of the body, where they are sitting further back than they were, and they're sitting lower down. So that angle, because there's actually a front-on angle of this in the comic book, and so that is a much more accurate look, with the wings coming in underneath the engines, or lower down. Previously it was like up here, and it gave it a much more aggressive look, but this actually feels so much better. So I'm really glad that I was able to figure that change out. But yeah, the wings can still fold up, and now they can actually go up all the way to 90 degrees, whereas before they could not. So that's another big deal. And canonically now it is confirmed from the comic book that this is how the ship lands. So I'm glad that I got that right. That was cool. But yeah, the landing gear is now tucked away in here in a slightly different manner. So you just pull these forward from underneath, and then we still have the front here is just this skid, and then you just have the two legs underneath, and it sits on those, and it looks perfectly nice and happy, just like that. So that's pretty cool. And then the second thing that I changed, so we have the wings, the landing gear, and then now we have the overall proportions. So that's going to be, most of the difference here. That the biggest thing visually is just the proportions are so different. So this front section here is much narrower, and it's just more pleasant to look at. It just feels aerodynamic to me, and just kind of, I kept the channel under here, and I kept the overall kind of idea of using these large sloping pieces up here, but I just reintegrated it with this new brick-built cockpit design, which is very simple. Actually, it took me so long to figure out, but it ended up being really simple. That's always the way. But yeah, and then that just tucks into this little kind of slot right here, where you can see it all just kind of hugs in really nicely and just comes together in a really pleasing way. So I'm really happy with that. And then let me just tuck away these landing gear, and I'll show you another feature that I saw from the comic book. In order to allow vertical takeoff and landing on this thing, it has actually got these, you don't actually see where it's coming from, but you see flames and engine exhaust emanating from the bottom of the ship from underneath the engines. So I added these little kind of retro boosters in here that I'm figuring this is, a slightly older era of Star Wars, where ships can't just hover up and then take off like they can in the newer design. So it needs a little bit of assistance. So I just added in these studs under here to just sell that idea a little bit, and I think that does a perfectly fine job. I changed up the proportions of these wings. It has a much narrower, sleeker proportion now, relative to the rest of the ship, and it has the tiles to give it that. In the actual concept art, you can see too, there's this line that runs down the middle. So adding in these tiles just gives me that kind of nice line that cuts right through the middle of this, and I like that a lot. The angles on these wings can actually be adjusted as well. I don't know if canonically that's something that it can do, but there were some illustrations where the wings looked more like this, and there were some where they looked more flat. So I've preserved the ability to rotate these all the way down to being completely flat like this, so you can just choose the angle that looks best to you. I like it where it's just a little bit raised like this. I think that looks good. And then, yeah, as far as the back end goes here, much more accurate on the engines here, because I really didn't know, because they're hidden by the wings in the original concept. So these have this nice kind of tapered, almost Naboo Starfighter-like design for the engines, or kind of reminds me of Anakin's pod racer too. And then I'm assuming that the kind of engine exhaust fire that we see coming out of Star Wars ships would emanate from around this cone right here. So I think that's pretty cool. And then I changed up the look of this back section here, where it's much more sleek. Previously I had like a brick-built slope solution, and I think that didn't look quite as nice. So just going with the Naboo inspiration, I just kind of rounded off that back cone. I think that looks pretty cool. And then we have a whole different setup in here for the decorations of the ship. Like we have the gray accents, which you could see, and then this kind of interesting little hook design that comes in here, and then the sides of this back cockpit panel here too. And yes, spoiler alert, that is the other big change that I made. We'll get to that in a second, but this is now a two-man fighter, so that's going to be an interesting other thing to take a look at. But yeah, as far as the overall proportions, I think this looks much better, and I'm really happy with it now. Oh yeah, also the engines sit lower relative to the cockpit, so the guns previously were above the cockpit, and now sit kind of at this angle where they cut right through the center of the ship. And I think not only is that more accurate, but it actually looks way better. So really happy I was able to do that as well. And I just beefed up these fins here at the end to give it a little bit more of an accurate look, where previously it was just a single one of these bricks that just came to a flat, terminated here flat, and then now it kind of tapers back a little bit more, which I think is more accurate overall as well. So yeah, lots and lots of tweaks to this, and a lot of it involved, keeping the idea of what I had, but basically completely rebuilding what was there. So that is important sometimes to remember that just because things don't necessarily look that different, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes with these models to get it to look that way. So yeah, but let's take a look at some of the interior features next. Oh yeah, and one thing that I forgot to mention is on the wings. Previously I had a New Republic, or a Republic logo on a tile, And that's something that actually was in the concept art, because this is a unused piece of concept art from the Revenge of the Sith. So this would have been a Republic vehicle. But since then, it's actually been removed on all subsequent materials, because this is a Jedi Starfighter, and the Jedi are not necessarily one and the same with the Republic as they were in that era. So no more logo on that, and the wings just have this nice clean look now to them. So that's just one other little additional change there. All right, so on the inside here, again, like on the outside, this is completely changed on the inside here. So let's take a look at some of the features. So obviously the cockpit can open, which is really nice. And this little kind of lip in here just sits right in front of the Jedi, and you could almost imagine that there's some kind of a heads-up display on that if you really wanted to, if it bugs you that this isn't a single clean windshield piece that runs all the way through. And then in here we have quite a lot more space than I had before, because I moved the Jedi character forward, and she sits, much more accurate, I think, to where they would actually be in the real thing. This super narrow cockpit made it really hard for me to kind of picture where someone should sit in this, but kind of by necessity of this being the open area where the character's head needs to go, moving them forward, I think that all just kind of worked out. So let me remove this Jedi for now, and we'll take a look at the interior here. So really, really simple, just a studded area for them to sit, and then just the sloped back here for the seat. And mostly that was done out of just the desire to get as much space for the Jedi to sit in there in this really, really tiny compressed cockpit. And then we actually found out some additional lore about the ship, which is that in order to engage the weapon systems, the Jedi actually have to insert the hilt of their lightsaber into the console. And I'm not sure exactly how that would look, because we don't see that in the comic, but we just get a description of it in the book. And so I just went ahead and created an area here where there's a clip, and so the Jedi can store their lightsaber hilt up here. And then the console is described as lighting up the color of their lightsaber blade. So it's a kind of a fun little customization thing. So this Jedi has a blue lightsaber, so I have a blue tile up in here in the front, but obviously you can customize that to be whatever color you want, just swap out the tile, but I just went with blue because I think it looks nice and console-y anyway. So that's that, and then just some simple grill tiles back here to show some additional greebly details. Then we have a little window, which is, there's no glass or anything, it's just a kind of a frame, but it allows you to see back into the back side of the ship where there's the second passenger compartment there. And I did that because I really wanted to imagine the Jedi and their Padawan being able to talk, like not just through comms, but actually being able to speak. So, having a little area there where I needed to have structural support in here, but also just making that hollow allowed me to do that. So we're looking at the back of that guy's head right now, so let's flip it around and see here. So you pull up both of these side panels. There you go. And then you pull up this middle section separately. They all just come up like that. And then that allows you enough space to grab your figure and pull them out. And so I just went with the same Zabrak Jedi as I had before. And then again, nothing for him to actually look at in here, just again, the structural necessities of this meant that I couldn't really have anything in there, but he has a little sloped back for his seat as well. And then this space, this actual hollow area, really does help fit the characters in there too, because their head comes to a rest right behind, or right in that hole. So if they're a character that has like a hairpiece or some headgear or something, or a helmet, it just gives you a little bit of extra clearance where you can tuck that away in there and be able to get the windows closed around them. So that works out really, really well. And I'm super happy with how that all turned out, because, it needed to be a two-man fighter craft, or at least have the option. It's unclear to me whether there's two different configurations of the actual ship, where, there's a two-seater version and a single-man version, or if it's just optional all the time. But there you go. I just wanted to be able to make sure that you could do that. The astromech is still in here. He's buried down a lot deeper now than he was before, which I think looks a lot better. And then, oops, he came up with the tile in there, but there's well, it's not going to go back in now, but there's a jumper tile for the R2 unit to sit down in there with. And what's really cool is the very first story that we got of this ship in in the comic book anyway. This ship is actually used to save a whole like alien culture, and they use the autopilot to do it. I won't spoil how that happens, but the autopilot is mentioned, and I'm not sure if that's actually an astromech autopilot or if it's built into the ship. But they actually, really used this thing to its fullest extent in a creative way in the first issue of the Marvel comic. And I thought that was really cool because that just exemplifies how this is a craft that is designed to solve problems. It's not just a killing machine. It's not something that's built for war. It's built for the Jedi to be able to go around and do what they need to do to make the galaxy a better place. So I think that really kind of helps elevate the story of the era by having a ship that is very sleek and clearly not bred for combat. And I like that they're following through on that philosophy in the stories as well, so that's really cool. I actually just received Light of the Jedi, which is the first novel by Charles Soule, and I'm going to be pouring through that over the next couple of days, so I'm very excited to get into that. And maybe there'll be even more lore in there that I have not yet been made aware of, so I'll continue to learn more about this ship as time goes on, but I really, really love the design, and I'm super glad that I can, bring a version of it to you guys. I'm sure that in the future, once we get additional, whether it be TV shows, animated things, or movies, who knows what we're going to get, in the High Republic era, this will probably continue to evolve in the years to come as we get to see more and more things about it and learn the specifics of what all of the different parts do and are for, and etc. So yeah, that's it for now. If you guys are enjoying the video so far, and if you've made it to this point, thank you for sticking around. Really would appreciate if you guys could drop a like if you did like the video, and subscribe if you're not already, because I have so much content coming for you guys. I have so many things planned. I know it takes me a little while to get those things out, but I have many, many, many ideas of things that are coming down the way. So thank you guys again for watching. I'll get to work on the next video for you, and I'll see you on the next one. May the Force be with you.